For centuries, the value system of the West was anchored securely by the Christian faith. As that metaphysical framework has declined, modern society has found itself grappling with a severe and escalating moral crisis. Friedrich Nietzsche reached a bleak conclusion. The death of God would inevitably collapse the moral order, sliding society directly into nihilism. During this exact same historical period, Baha'u'llah was diagnosing a similar threat. He warned that the corrosion of ungodliness was eating into the vitals of human society and would ultimately result in chaos and confusion. The mechanism behind this chaos is straightforward. Without a framework of metaphysical accountability, an ultimate reason to do good and shun evil, modern societies struggle to motivate moral action on a large scale. In the absence of that framework, society defaults to extremes. We see a retreat into strict biological determinism, where individuals are viewed as helpless victims of circumstance, or a slide into unstructured hedonism, where the pursuit of material prosperity and constant pleasure becomes the sole purpose of life. Filling this void requires a universal standard of values, a global code of ethics that provides a concrete, objective structure for human conduct. Legal scholar and theologian Udo Schaefer proposes that the Bahá'í Faith offers a comprehensive replacement framework capable of filling this dying morality. To understand this framework, we have to discard the idea of religion as a flat list of aphorisms, nice sayings, or unconnected good behaviors. Bahá'í ethics operates as a rigorously structured, interdependent architectural system. Schaefer categorizes this structure as a form of theonomic ethics. By theonomic, we mean a system based entirely on God's legislation. It derives its authority from divine revelation and the sovereignty of the lawgiver, rather than relying on shifting human consensus or pure philosophical rationalism. To see exactly how this system resolves the modern moral crisis, we must trace its logic and build its framework, starting from the absolute bedrock. Before any system can dictate how an individual ought to act, it must define the fundamental nature of the actor. The Bahá'í framework explicitly rejects the traditional Christian doctrine, specifically the Protestant theology, of original sin and total depravity, which argues that humans are born with a corrupt nature. It equally rejects the modern secular concept of innocence mania, the deterministic idea that human beings are purely the products of their social environment and therefore lack personal agency. Instead, Baha'u'llah establishes a distinct alternative. Human beings are created noble, possessing both immense latent potential and absolute free will. Because individuals possess the capacity to override their lower nature and control their natural drives, they are held radically responsible for their actions. This accountability is enforced by a specific metaphysical mechanism. The system relies on the existence of an omnipresent judge to whom all secrets of the heart are known, and exacts real consequences based on faith and conduct in the afterlife. This baseline of absolute human accountability and immortal stakes provides the necessary gravity. Without this foundation, moral laws carry no true weight. From this anthropological foundation, the framework uses two primary mechanisms to drive human action. The first is a teleological mechanism. Teleological ethics target the internal character. This is an ethics of being, focusing on the deliberate, lifelong acquisition and practice of virtues so they become an inseparable part of one's character. The second is a deontological mechanism. Deontological ethics govern external behavior. This requires strict obedience to divine laws, commandments, and prohibitions, such as the specific legal ordinances laid out by Baha'u'llah in the Kitab-i-Aqdas. These are not competing philosophical theories. They are complementary halves of a unified whole. Duty and law bind external behavior to prevent social chaos, while the active pursuit of virtue permanently transforms the internal self. The result is a strict three-tiered dependency structure. The Bahá'í writings reject a flat list of equal moral values, placing virtues into a precise hierarchy. At the base tier are the worldly virtues, dictating our daily conduct and relationships. The foundational prerequisite for this entire tier is love. Without a genuine love for humanity, social ethics degrade into cold calculation and mere procedural rules. The apex of this tier is justice. Justice acts as the supreme organizing principle, serving as the sum of all worldly virtues by balancing our interactions. Resting on top of this social layer is the middle tier, the virtues of the path. This tier shifts the focus inward, dictating the individual's strict duty to their own self-actualization. The central mechanism of the path is detachment. This is the active, continuous process of freeing oneself from the transient shackles of the material world. Traversing this path requires specific internal disciplines: purity, refinement, and chastity, which the text defines not as a suppression of physical drives, but as their deliberate, moderate control. The dependency here is intentional. Worldly virtues manage our societal interactions, but the virtues of the path ensure those interactions are not chained to selfish material outcomes. Finally, we reach the ultimate rank of the hierarchy, the theocentric virtues. All other tiers, both the self-actualizing path and our worldly interactions, are secondary and completely subordinate to this peak. This highest tier demands an absolute duty to God. It comprises self-surrender, a profound fear of God, and tawakkul, which translates to an absolute trust in the divine. This vertical orientation stands in sharp, direct contrast to classical philosophical models, where thinkers like Aristotle focused entirely on finding a happy mean and balancing worldly justice. The Bahá'í system insists that human morality requires a much higher metaphysical anchor point. Good deeds performed merely to gain social reward or to avoid punishment are ultimately insufficient. The highest morality requires that action be performed solely for the sake of God. The architecture of this moral system functions only when the lower societal actions are animated and powered by this highest tier of divine devotion. In its fully realized state, the framework reveals an integrated structure where every level supports the one above it. By linking rigid laws to internal character development, it successfully avoids the extremes of both pure legalism and pure sentimentality. It triggers a deliberate chain reaction. Theocentric devotion mandates the path of self-purification, which in turn necessitates a worldly ethic rooted deeply in love and governed by absolute justice. Baha'u'llah refers to the active, lifelong, and lived experience of traversing this precise moral architecture as the straight path. The ultimate end of this hierarchy extends beyond the creation of a functional or polite society. Instead, it targets a radical, fundamental transformation of the human being from the inside out, shifting the very nature of individual existence. By perfectly synthesizing divine sovereignty with absolute human responsibility, this ethical blueprint is designed to generate an entirely new man, equipped to build a civilization that won't collapse under its own weight.